So this is the fundraising cask, kindly donated by Boan and managed by Two Stack. So it's the two of you who have kept this all free, fundraising, and legitimate.
Absolutely.
Against my better nature.
Cheers.
Yeah, but I think that's the great thing. We distilled it. It went to an indie bottler.
Yep.
They're going to bottle it, and that's what Irish whiskey was back then.
And it funds a great piece of information to go out to the world.
Yeah.
30% of it left to move. So
Sláinte.
So this is mash bill 10, right?
Mash bill 10. So this is actually the first mash I found in an archive. So I found some of them in books, but this is the first one that was in it. This is the old Locks Distillery in the Midlands.
Sherry bomb off it, right?
So 40% malt, 40% barley, 15% oats, and 5% rye is what that is. And yeah, I haven't smelled it for a year at least.
VM 10.
10.
The darling mash bill.
The darling. And in Oloroso.
So different. Absolutely stunning whiskey though.
Yeah. Can you give me the mash bill again?
40% malt, 40% barley, 15% oats,
40, 15.
and then 5% rye. A little bit of
rye. No wheat.
No wheat. Okay. Yeah. So and found in the National Library of Ireland manuscripts reading room with great surprise and joy.
The oiliness and the texture is just crazy. That's the classic single pot. So just that mouthfeel, unbelievable.
I remember when it was young, when we first started the book, we took a smell of it, took a taste of it, took a bottle of it, to be fair. And it had this kind of
Don't take too many now.
Tin peaches, we've accounted for that.
Yeah.
It had this kind of like the liquid that holds the tin peaches together kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of got a tinge of that, but there's more going on, between the oats, the rye, the raw barley.
I used to just take the peaches out and just drink the syrup.
Yeah. So that's what it tasted like.
Yeah.
I definitely get the rye element in there, but like comparing it to the previous mash bill 5, completely different.
30 oats. Yeah.
30 oats to this one's 5% rye, 15% oats. It's still, to me, it's still one of the best pot stills I've ever tasted. Like it's still like I can sit with this and I could easily share amongst a couple of friends and go through a bottle of it, on a sitting on how and just for a few hours sit with it, enjoy it, dissect it. There's a balance to this one that's really, really beautiful that on the tongue, like I get a much more meatiness to mash bill 5, where this one, maybe it's the peachiness that rolls off the tongue a lot easier, but there's a nice kind of overall,
I love the
balance of flavors on it.
The rye, so it's kind of like a seasoning tool. And I always think of your man Solboy. He's like doing this stuff, a bit of pepper spice.
We'll get that photo yet in the book. I'll do
it in there. A little bit of seasoning in there.
There's definitely a bit of seasoning.
Yeah,
and the rye is interesting because
it's right when you swallow, you get that.
We've done 30%. Yeah.
You feel it right
now
in the back.
You go back to it. There's
that kind of cardamom kind of flavoring.
But it gives it moreish flavor where you're like, I actually want to try that again.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Absolutely.
There you go. You got more of it.
But it's also, like again, comparing to some of the big oat mashes, 30% oats. Now this still has oats in it, and they're still carrying. There's that weird. It's not as hefty as the 30% oats. But it's still got that kind of, especially the back of your mouth, that kind of glycerin
I think
feeling.
When you said 15 hefty, I'm saying meaty and oily, but this to me is just a little more delicate, a little more just kind of nuanced with the different flavor profile, but absolutely adore this as a pot still. Again, I haven't tried many pot stills like this. I think the full sherry maturation works again.
Yeah, and it's funny.
It's really, really.
But the thing about it was, when we finished this project, it was an academic project, so obviously you could not take any money for so we said, we have to give you something because this is changing the course of Irish whiskey history or the future, and we said we want to give you a cask.
Yeah.
Pick a cask. And this is the cask that you picked. The darling mash.
Yeah, and we didn't know what we would do with it, and I thought I don't need a whole cask of whiskey to myself, and what am I going to do with this? And then the book started to evolve in the kind of the long hours of the thesis writing, where I thought, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to be writing about? And really, and especially during COVID, that really crystallized. Like the next book, I want to be my book. I really wanted to count and write the kind of book that I'd like to write. And then this cask was there, and we thought, if we're going to be fecking off to Spain to look at sherry and fecking off to Europe to talk about early distilling history and all this, we're going to need a bit of lucre. And suddenly we thought, okay, well, we can use this. And then that community that developed around the crowdfunding has been so wonderful. It wakes me up when we do these events, when we do these talks online. It's given the book another dimension that it was never supposed to have. And I don't know what we'll do without it, when it's over. But it's been a joy.
Yeah,
it's
probably a world's first. I've never heard of a book and a bottle of
Look,
whiskey.
it developed. It developed organically. The people who bought into it have been just zealots. They're rock stars, each of them. Because they helped us fund the book. But similarly, like, they come to the tastings. They're inquisitive. They're curious. We're able to chase down all these talks about like triple distillation or oats or this or that. There's that hunger. And when I wrote my first book,
a hunger there. Yeah,
Irish whiskey was a very, very Irish whiskey geekdom was a very small community, and everybody knew each other, and everybody, it's the Willie Murphys and the Leo Fields, and all these people I have enormous heaps of respect for, but we all kind of could fit in a room, or you had the casual whiskey drinkers in Ireland, albeit whiskey lovers who didn't come to this thing, but the hobbyist scene was very small. The hobbyist scene has exploded. And there's so many fanatics out there.
It's needed in terms of the trickle effect it has with everyone going home and telling their wives and sons and daughters and everyone that listen. Did you know? Because I've just tried one of the best whiskies ever, and this is why.
The vast majority of the fundraising has been word of mouth.